Welcome to another episode of the Lancescurv Show. We have a breaking story that is just too sad, too telling on life in America. To get a better understanding of this story that actually happened 2 years ago, I'm going to read an article from face2faceafrica.com. Also, I will put the link in the description area below so you can read it for yourself. Here it is. The title is "You Have the Wrong Place." Chicago woman handcuffed naked by police during botched home raid. Almost 2 years ago, the Chicago police raided the home of Anjanette Young with their guns drawn and a warrant in search of a suspect. Young, who had just returned from her shift at the hospital as a social worker, was naked at the time the police broke down her door. Startled and demanding to know what was going on, she was handcuffed while still naked and ignored while her home was searched. It later turned out to be a botched raid. They got the wrong house. Following the incident, Young filed a lawsuit against the police. Young, through a Freedom of Information Act, FOIA, she filed last year, also requested the body cam footage of the incident be turned over so the public could also see what actually happened that night. CBS 2 added that they also filed the same request. The Chicago Police Department, however, refused to release the footage. A court recently ordered the police department to turn the videos over to Young as part of her lawsuit. I feel like they didn't want us to have this video because they knew how bad it was, she told the news outlet. They knew they had done something wrong. They knew that the way they treated me was not right. Per the footage of 9 body cameras, a group of male officers reportedly barged into Young's home after breaking her door down with a battering ram on the night of February 21st, 2019. The social worker, who had just arrived from work, was naked in her bedroom when she initially heard the noise from beyond her door. It was so traumatic to hear the thing that was hitting the door, she told CBS 2. And it happened so fast, I didn't have time to put on clothes. The officers who entered her home had their weapons drawn, made it known they had a search warrant, and shouted, "Hands up, hands up, hands up." Naked, Young complied with their orders despite being startled and terrified. She was then handcuffed while still naked. In the footage, Young asked the officers, "What is going on? There's nobody else here. I live alone. I mean, what is going on here? You've got the wrong house. I live alone." It's one of those moments where I felt I could have died that night, she told CBS 2. Like, if I would have made one wrong move, I felt like they would have shot me. I truly believe that they would have shot me. Young was later covered with a short coat, but it did not completely hide her nakedness. An officer later covered her with a blanket. Crying, Young continued to ask the officers what was going on. "They just threw something over me, and my hands are behind me, and I'm handcuffed," she said. "So there's no way for me to secure the blanket around me." Elsewhere in the video, Young was heard telling the officers they were in the wrong house. "Tell me what's going on," she asked. "You've got the wrong house. You've got the wrong house. You've got the wrong house." A sergeant then asked her, "There's no one else who lives in this apartment?" To which she replied, "No, no one else lives here." CBS 2 reported Young told the officers they were in the wrong house at least 43 times. She said the officers also ignored her when she demanded answers. "When I asked them to show me, when I asked them to tell me what they are doing in my house, and their response to me was just, 'Shut up and calm down.' That's so disrespectful," she said. Young was allowed to dress after a female officer arrived 13 minutes later, but she was handcuffed again afterward. Per investigations from the news outlet, the police could have avoided wrongly breaking into Young's home had they cross-checked to confirm it was the address of the suspect they were after. They obtained the search warrant and conducted the raid following a tip from a confidential informant. The informant in question told the lead officer of the raid, known as Affiant, that he had recently seen the suspect with a gun and ammunition a day before the raid. After the informant confirmed the identity of the suspect, after the officer ran his image through the database, the informant took the officer to the suspect's alleged location, which was the wrong address. Without running any further background checks, a search warrant was obtained. CBS 2, however, reported the officers could have accurately located the suspect, who was a known felon, because he was wearing an electronic monitoring device. The suspect also lived in the residential complex next to Young's. That piece of paper, the search warrant, gives them the right to, that says you can do X, Y, and Z based on what's on the paper, Young told the news outlet. So if you get it wrong, you are taking 100% control of someone else's life and treating them in a bad way. After the police realized they were in the wrong home, getting to the end of the raid, they freed Young. "I do apologize for bothering you tonight," the sergeant said. "I assure you that the city will be in contact with you tomorrow." The sergeant also asked, "Is there anything I can do for you right now?" To which Young replied, "Just leave and let me move on. This is crazy." Young was also contacted by the Civilian Office of Police Accountability, COPA, 9 months after the February 2019 incident. And that was only after CBS 2 first reported the story. COPA said they're still looking into the incident. If this had been a young woman in Lincoln Park by herself in her home naked, a young white woman, let's just be frank, if the reaction would have been the same. I don't think it would have been, Keenan Salter, Young's attorney, said. I think officers would have saw that woman, rightfully so, as someone who was vulnerable, someone who deserved protection, someone who deserved to have their dignity maintained. They viewed Ms. Young as less than human. Prior to the footage being aired on CBS 2, the law department of the Office of Mayor Lori Lightfoot filed a federal motion seeking to block the station from showing it. Their request was, however, denied by a judge. Wow. Let's just go back from the end. The mayor requested that the footage not be shown. The mayor, who appears to be, as far as what I can see, a black woman. So here we have a woman who's a black woman who sees another black sister getting treated this way and doesn't want it to be shown? Whose secret handshake crew were you with? You see, you just don't know who you're dealing with, but let's talk about this. The bottom line is, yes, they do look at us as less than human. The bottom line is, for those who seek to get into America and want to come to the land of milk and honey so bad, please, if you have melanated skin, you don't want to come here. This is business as usual. Now, let's just take it down the ultimate of what could have gone wrong. They botched this thing. They could have easily found the suspect or the person they're looking for by the ankle bracelet that they had on. What if Anjanette Young was coming from the back of her home? I mean, it's bad enough that she was naked, as you can be in your home after a hard day's work, but not in America. They can come into your home and handcuff you. What if she was on her way to the restroom and couldn't go? She would have made a mess all over herself in her own home, violating around these strangers who are telling her to shut up and calm down in your own home. She doesn't get in trouble, has no record with the law, doesn't live that way, and lives alone, and had to be subjected to this type of tragedy and trauma. But look at this. She goes through this. She's there. This is never going to be erased from her subconscious and conscious mind when you're violated on that level. Now, growing up black in the United States, you know how life is. You know that your number can come up anytime. But she didn't expect this. We have many of our brothers and sisters who don't bring any trouble. I will say the majority of them just want to make a living for themselves and go home. But I guess that's not bad. That's not good enough. We're all like that. And some people say mistakes happen, but look, you're held to a higher standard. And your one mistake could have cost her her life that day in her home, as it happens all the time. So we got to understand that this place called America, and I spell it not with a C, but with 3 Ks, is not the place that you want to be in. If you want to stay there, if you want to live there, you have to understand that there's certain dynamics that you're going to have to live with that are beyond your control. Now, from their mistake, they knocked the door in. Let's say she was deaf and couldn't hear. Let's just say she was not facing the door. Let's just say she had a tablet or a black cell phone in her hand. How long do you think she would have lived? Even if she could hear, even if she could speak, they could have done anything. Of course they would have shot her. She's rightful for thinking something like this. And I'm glad they got a good one, because she knows the deal, because she said what she said. If it was a white woman, they would do what they have to do to preserve life, because 9% of the population and genetic annihilation coming for them, they damn well know in their mind that we better preserve our numbers. And these others who are growing, no matter what we do to them, we got to get rid of them. 3/5 of a human being, yes, that view is still held in America, no matter what you say. And those of us who speak out on it, oh, you're racist. Oh, you can't get your mind past slavery. Oh, you can't. It's not even just a matter of slavery, but the trauma that we had to endure. And has it ever stopped in America? Has it ever stopped? The slave catchers yesterday or the police department today. And this is what they do. And these are the stories that are leaked out. And then you have a mayor who is a black woman petition to keep that footage from going out. Why? Don't you want justice for your sister? Where is your allegiance? What are you all about? Like I said, all skin folk ain't kinfolk. I didn't make that up, but it's so true. I've heard it growing up all my life, and those are the ones you have to watch. We know the pink parasite is going to do what he does, right? That's a given. But in this place called America, you have no rights as a melanated person. Even for those who claim that land is their birthright. Well, this is what you got to live with, and this is what you have to fight. For those who said that I'm running and going to Africa, nowhere is perfect, but you know what? That is one less thing that I have to worry about, because I know on January 26, 1989, I was yanked out of my brand new car and beat down by 11 police officers. And this has helped me to be who I am today, because I'm not going to let any one of these stories get by without blasting it to the world. And even on the original headlines of the title of one of the sites that I saw, or actually one of the videos from CBS. And you have to really watch how they do headlines. And after this, I'm just going to wrap it up, because I don't want it to turn into a ramble. It may be a rant, but I don't want it to be a ramble. On the video from CBS this morning, it says, wrong house raid. Video shows police handcuffing innocent naked woman in Chicago. Well, what's wrong with that? That's saying it. But why couldn't Chicago been put earlier on in the sentence in the bottom? They kept Chicago toward the end. They didn't want to demonize Chicago, right? See how shrewd they can be? I'm gonna read it again. Video shows police handcuffing innocent naked woman in Chicago. They didn't say innocent naked black woman, but I tell you one thing, if a black woman who went on a shooting spree killing police, they would have put it out there that it's a black woman, because they can associate it with something negative. Watch the news and how they mind control you when you think you're getting a story. I always watch the headlines. I always watch where they place words. Wrong house raid. Video shows police handcuffing innocent naked woman in Chicago. Chicago is becoming gentrified. The black neighborhoods that are there, they're allowing crime to go on. They're allowing the drugs and the turf wars and the shooting to go on. But there's much of Chicago that's being gentrified. See? So they don't want the perception to affect the property values, right? That's how they do. Now, what did I say as you watch this video? I said wrong house raid. Yeah. I lifted their title, but I changed the words around. I said video shows Chicago police handcuffing innocent naked black woman in her home. They didn't put black, I did. They didn't put Chicago as the third word in that sentence, but I did. They put it as the last one, right? So we got to tell it like it is. If it's something negative, black woman would have been in there. But it's a mistake what they say. They say it's a mistake, right? But they don't care because nobody contacted them right after. Isn't that crazy? So why didn't the mayor concern herself with that? Like, why didn't I hear about this? Why wasn't I contacted about this to bring this sister some relief? Nobody did until 9 months later, right? And they're still looking into the case. So this is a cover up, and I'm glad this video got out. Let me tell you something, y'all. When you can, if you can, not that it's going to make a difference, because video does not make a difference in America, because you'll show somebody doing something wrong and they'll still have it in court and they'll still say that these charges are overturned, these police are acquitted. But as an extra measure of truth to, protection, I'm getting emotional, to show it out to the world, we all need to wear body cams. Whether it's $150, $200, $400, the more it costs is the better the body cam. Get what you can afford, but that might make the difference. This got out and it must be dealt with. You might be the only one who has a body cam on with the police around you when they cut theirs off. They know how to do the dirty deeds, and they know how to write the reports to slant perception in their favor. I know. I was a very good report writer when I was in corrections, but I wrote the truth. And that's why I'm not there anymore. Because I'm not going to allow any of my brothers or sisters to be treated bad. And when they want to get together and let's collaborate and let's be on one page with this story, that's what they do before the report is written. We can't bend the truth up for so much, but let's talk about it. So just in case we're up on the stand, we have the same story. This is what they do. Again, we need to call this mayor out. Why would she motion to not have this footage put out? And why, as soon as she found out about it, she wasn't more concerned with Anjanette Young, her sister, her black sister? Isn't that something? And I'm going to say it again. Prior to the footage being aired by CBS 2, the law department of the office of Mayor Lori Lightfoot filed a federal motion seeking to block the station from showing it. Their request was, however, denied by a judge. Who was she in the bed with? Just because a person has a title of mayor and has the complexion that you do doesn't mean that they're on your side. When you deal with all legalities, when you deal with all things in the hierarchy of their system, even if they look like you better vet it, nitpick it, investigate it thoroughly, and assume that it's crooked, because usually it's connected to something crooked or someone crooked or a group of people crooked, and it's infested by the secret handshake boys and girls, the ones who wear their badges on the right side of the back of their vehicles, who have more allegiance to that and the preservation of their group than doing right and doing justice for the people. This is why ahead of time, those of us who are righteous, those of us who do have some sense, those of us who have what they would call legal expertise, that are independent of all these groups that work against us, we need to come together just in case something like this happens, and know what needs to be done and rally behind sisters like Sister Anjanette Young. My heart goes out to you. I wish you the best. I hope justice is served. And I thank you for being the strong woman and sister that you are. Let's share this video, like it, share it, subscribe. Let's keep things going and understand that many of the subscribers to this channel are being unsubscribed by YouTube because they don't like the kind of stuff we talk about. Anyway, much love, family. On to the next one. Truth keeps marching on. Lancescurv out.